I'll ask him one more question. I have two wonderful daughters. And my youngest daughter is absolutely certain, and I'm so proud of her for this, that she will always get what she wants. And she has the expectation that she will always get what she wants. Sometimes that conflicts with her bedtime. And I struggle with that because I want certain things for her, and I would prefer sometimes to sit on the couch and thumb the remote, then try to get her in bed and get her to brush her teeth. How can I work with my young daughter to avoid the conflict again?
Well, fortunately, we're not working with your young daughter. We're working with you. And so we're asking ourselves the question, how can we help this child of ours accept the reality that his daughter is the creator of her reality and stop trying to create her reality for her? In other words, that's tricky, isn't it? Because she wants what she wants, and there are parents all over this room even thinking, well, Abraham, if we don't give them limitations, they will just go crazy, and if we don't set some standards, then won't they just drift into bad hygiene? And this is a really important opportunity to say again, get into the vortex and then have the conversation. Get into the vortex and then talk about the nighttime. Get into the vortex and then talk about brushing the teeth. Because from your place of annoyance, or from your place of being pulled away from something that you want to do, or from your place of seeing rebellion, you're not in the vortex and you're blaming your child for it, you see. It's interesting, isn't it? So is the issue, this is the thing that we want to ask you, and we love it when the first question and the second question all wrap together in such a tidy bow. Here is the most important question. Is the issue brushing teeth, or is the issue alignment with source? Is the issue going to bed at a specific time, or is the issue alignment with source? In other words, what is your commitment to? Is your commitment to your alignment with source? In other words, here we'll put it to you in an even clearer way. What do you most wish to pass on as a legacy from you to your child? How to be in the vortex or good teeth brushing?
The vortex is
seriously. In other words, because most parents sacrifice their vortex for the teeth, for the bedtime, for the toys, for the mess. In other words, you give up the only thing that matters and the only thing that you really want to teach them, and you step outside the vortex, and then you just teach them how to wrestle in the real world. And what they show you is that they're good at wrestling back, because they will defend their right to create their own reality first and foremost, you see. Where if you let being in the vortex be the thing that you most want to impart. So that's the example that you're setting. From in the vortex, their behavior will be so much from only when they're in the vortex does their behavior really benefit them. Do you ever watch employees or children or anyone that you have set rules for? Do you ever watch the way they behave when you're not there? They do. They go overboard to defy what you want in their quest to point out how free they are, because their vortex matters way more to them than your rule. Way more. So if you start with the vortex, so let's take this example. So let's say you're in the vortex and you're thinking about the well-being of your little girls, and you are something just happened and you're focused upon the deliciousness of them. They are so clever and so cute and so good with each other and so smart and so eager to learn and so willing to apply what they're learning and so wanting to show off to you what they know, so wanting to express the fullness of themselves, and so often in the vortex, so often laughing and having fun and just making your heart sing. These kids are so great, aren't they? And as you focus upon them in that way, don't you feel enlivened? Don't you feel the fullness of who they are? Don't you feel the fullness of who you are? Don't you just know that their future is bright? Aren't you just eager for life to keep sharpening for them what they want? And don't you love knowing their well-being? And aren't you glad that they still know it? Don't you love their strength and determination? Don't you just love that? Now that's an in the vortex conversation. And as you get in there and milk that, now what happens, you see? What happens as you tune yourself to that part of them and only to that part of them? What happens is, because one who's connected to who you really are, you see, when you sync up with you, you offer a signal of attraction that is so powerful that, like we were saying to our friend who was lost, he didn't have enough money for his ticket, but his desire was so strong, the universe was still able to bring him in. In a similar way, when you are tuned in to who you are, but more important, when you are tuned in to who they really are, so that's the signal that you're offering, that's the power of your influence. They'll want to brush their teeth. They'll want to cooperate. They'll want to be good for them. They'll want to do what's best for them. That does not mean that they will want to please you every step of the way, but you're not focused upon them pleasing you. You're focused in your vortex on their success, on their thriving, on their well-being. Every single thing that you ask them to do or to be done regarding them is because you want with everything you are their well-being. But you got to train yourself into vibrational equivalent of their well-being. And when you do, they will cooperate. They must become a cooperative component. Did you get that? Oh, so now let's take the other side of that. Let's say that you had a hard day, and why not? Just people bickering all day long. So you come home, all you want, you really don't want any more human interaction. You want your remote control. You want to watch television. You want them to just be good. And they're not being good because you've got a rule and they don't want to keep it. And so you're outside the vortex and trying to exercise control from outside the vortex, where you have paltry, puny, tiny, insignificant influence, which just irks you because you're bigger. You would like to have control of something. You can't control those people that you work with all day. They're completely out of control. I ought to be able to control these two little girls. But you can't. Because it's not there for you to control, you see. And so anything you do from outside the vortex, it's like you just can't get there from there. In other words, you could get loud enough and you could get strong enough and you could lock them in. You could do what Super Nanny does. You could lock them in the room, bolt the door shut, take them to the naughty spot every time they're bad. You could exercise control and they will just get bigger and bigger and bigger until, like a horse, you break them. And when you break them, you've really broken them. In other words, when their will is suppressed and replaced with their determination to, in a disciplined way, just please you, you've trained them away from their guidance system. And they'll show up in one of our workshops in about 40 years. So go to the vortex and then have the conversation. Go to the vortex and then have the conversation. So next time you go home, just make a decision that you're going to be in the vortex before you have that conversation. And before you go into the house, envision them as the wonderful children that they are. Tune yourself to the sweetness and the fullness and the wholeness of them. Tune yourself to that feeling of wonder that you feel about them. Their source energy and physical bodies, they're so pure and sweet and fresh, and they're exploring contrast just like everybody, and they're expanding and they're wanting more and they're learning. When they're little babies and they fall down, you don't say, "Get up, you little dummy." You give them the opportunity to learn how to walk a little bit, and you want to give them the opportunity to learn about their gap. But you've got to know about yours first, and you've got to manage your gap before you can teach them how to manage their gap. Meanwhile, let them stay up as long as they want, because you're not making anything better by enforcing rules from outside the vortex.
Thank you so much.
So let's just do a little wrap up here, and then we'll take segment of lunch. So have we convinced you about the reality of this vibrational reality? If you can make it primary and feel your way to it, your manifested reality is just going to go off the charts. People watching you are just going to be amazed at what you're accomplishing, because we're not asking you to come to awareness of this vibrational reality just to soothe yourself about the stuff that's not coming to you. That's not our point at all. We're saying to you, if you make this vibrational reality your priority, if you care about how you feel, all that manifestation is going to come. It has to come, because in your absence of resistance, it must be. It is law. You just speed it up. You just speed it way up. So when you care about how you feel more than about what's manifesting, so you guide yourself according to how it feels, you soothe yourself, you look for reasons to feel good. Today, no matter where I'm going and no matter what I'm doing and no matter who I'm doing it with, it is my dominant intent to look for what I'm wanting to see. As that is your mantra, as you care about how you feel, you'll find yourself in the vortex frequently. And every time you're in and aware of it, milk it. Just milk it. Milk it until those around you think you're mad. It's just interesting to watch Jerry and Esther. They'll get on a jag where they will talk about one subject through an entire meal just for the purpose of milking the good feeling of it. Good time for a segment of lunch.